Hey everyone, and welcome to another very special Talking Islam episode. We have Shreyas with us from Bombay, India. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, Daniel, for having me, and thank you for all the resources that you provide out there. It's really a blessing.
Anytime, my pleasure. And yeah, for everyone out there, just quick backstory of how this episode happened. Well, you've been commenting on our YouTube channel, and you're doing well. And I said, hey, you want to be a guest? And you said yes. And so that's basically how this happened. But with that said, yeah, tell us your story. How did you start having trouble with sleep?
It had started happening last year around March. It was early March, I guess. There were like I don't know how sleep got on the radar. I really don't get it because I've never been someone who's an anxious person. So I was sleeping fine right up until March, and then all of a sudden I had weeks where I guess I was trying to monitor sleep in some way, and I was sleeping for like only 3 hours, 4 hours, and only during the early mornings. It continued like that for 2, 3 days, and then sleep I think really got on my radar. I really started looking at, oh, I'm sleeping less than what I usually sleep because my usual bedtime is around. I go to bed at 10, I hang around in bed till 11, 12, and then sleep and wake up at 9. That's my usual schedule. So that really got on my radar. And then as you guys say, it is the big one, right? It is always the fear of the big one. And then came the big one. So in March, during the end of March, I was only sleeping for about 2 hours every night. It was like for 2 weeks, it went on, and I really did not go to any doctor because I thought it would resolve on its own, but it didn't. And I like my eyes were all there were like was swollen, the eyes were swollen, and I could not sleep. It was like I was really worried. I was crying uh, during the day hours, and then I went to a general physician in the city, and they gave me clonazepam. It worked. It worked to get rid of the big one, to kind of get sleep somewhere rectified, but it did not really resolve the fear, the anxiety that the big one generated. And then I pretty much started having problems with maintaining sleep. Uh, like I used to sleep and then I used to wake up 2, 3 hours into the night, and then it used to be the same time, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and it constantly gave me anxiety. Every night I used to go to bed thinking about this. There was there was this imminent fear that was there. It lasted for a month, 2 months. It lasted, and then I visited a neurologist, a very famous hospital somewhere nearby in the city. They are very famous. Visited them. That neurologist was very good. But to his credit, he was very good. But he said that you might have RLS, which is restless leg syndrome. He started me on a couple of medications here and there, and I took the medications. I guess it was all placebo at the end of the day. It was all placebo because it rectified it a little bit, but it did not address what was going on underneath. And the funny thing is, all the doctors I visited, they kept telling me, you have anxiety, you have anxiety. I never understood what anxiety I have. They couldn't really explain it. Like I asked them, what anxiety do I have? About sleep? Of course I'm anxious about sleep. Who wouldn't be anxious about sleep when they're not sleeping well? So that was the thing. And they couldn't really explain as to why do I always wake up 2 hours, 3 hours into the night. As in your videos, as you guys explained so well, you guys explained it like there is an emotional cue that has been set up in your circadian rhythm, right? There is this emotional reaction that is happening due to which you're constantly waking up. So this went on for a very long time. It was very bothersome. It went on for about 6 to 8 months. Then later on in November, somewhat it was okay. It was okay, but the fear was still there. The fear about, oh, this might return, this might happen again.
And sorry to interrupt, Shreyas, but during these many months, you're still sleeping quite little. You were anxious, and what were your days like?
Fortunately for me, I'm some kind of a person who like if I just work, if I work, I love my work. I love what I do. I'm generally someone who is I get distracted easily. If I get work, I can push through my day. But I was there were these sleep efforts that I was doing. Like I was not going outside, I was not doing any outdoor activities, not going to the gym, trying to isolate myself, trying to protect myself. What happened is it only turns out to harm you because the hyperarousal goes beyond control. And you cannot control hyperarousal at the end of the day, right? That's what is the teaching at the end of the day, to not resist anything. Uh, yeah.
So you're, pretty much, I think everyone in our community knows what sleep effort is, but super quickly, it's like things we do or avoid to sleep. And most of our guests talk about how they try, they try supplements or they try herbal teas or things like that. But for you, it sounded maybe like it was mostly like avoidance, or was it both?
It was both. I have tried supplements. I went on that route. I definitely did. You can see that these medications I took for RLS, they're all still here. I still have them. I just brought them on to demonstrate on the video. I don't take any of them no more. So this happened, and then afterwards, when it stabilized a little bit, the fear was still there. The fear didn't go away. And what happened was November end, I started getting jerks, the hypnic jerks. It started. My first experience was while I was lying down, I was falling asleep. My right arm just came up and hit my forehead, and that scared the hell out of me. That really scared me. It only happened once during that night, and I slept okayish, and after that, it did not happen so much, and then it started happening regularly. Almost every day, I used to get jerks. I used to not be able to fall asleep because I used to feel a surge of energy. All of those classic symptoms, all of them, having very vivid dreams, very colorful dreams, not being able to distinguish between what is wakefulness, what is sleep, and then what you guys has termed as hypersleep, sleeping and then not realizing that you're sleeping, waking up wondering whether you're sleeping or not. All of those symptoms. And I think that is when I came across your channel. Your channel was already on my radar, but I never followed it that closely because everywhere I go, I get the same advice. I was like, this is probably going to be the same thing again, which actually it wasn't, to be very honest. It was very different. So that was when that started. November, December, and January. There were 3 months that was hell on earth. That was hell because I was crying. I was upset throughout the day. My parents were very, very worried. More than me, they got worried as to what the problem is. How do we resolve it? Does that and everything. It is funny because we used to discuss about sleep every day in the house. It had become a topic. So it had become such a topic. It had got on everyone's radar. My parents used to sleep fine. But me getting upset in the middle of the night definitely does not help any of your, people who sleep beside you. You're definitely upset with them too. So in January end, I said, you know what, I'm going to try to figure out a solution to this because I had two major fears. One fear was, what if I get stuck in this for my life and I'm never able to find a way out? And the second fear that is there any solution at all? Because it looks it's so dark at the end of the tunnel. It does not seem like there is any light when there is light. So I came across BedTyme, and I think you remember I must have questioned you on a channel. Is BedTyme still available? Can I?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did. So I signed up on BedTyme, and the first 2 weeks on BedTyme were amazing. The level of education that you guys just put out there, the level of education that I got, especially on day 7, where it talks about hyperarousal. And I remember reading that, and I remember going through every single one of them, having these jerks, these jolt of energy. I'm like, yes, I have all of them. And it is such a thing where it kind of melts the arousal. Immediately my anxiety just went away. And then I kind of, Alina was wonderful, by the way. Alina was my sleep coach. She was wonderful. Her insights, how you should not resist anything. How can you I used to, because I am always a very self-critical kind of a person. I didn't know this, that if you have certain personality types, it leaves you susceptible to certain symptoms, certain problems. So I was very self-critical about everything. Like, how am I not able to befriend wakefulness, and she actually told me that even if you have a bad day, if you have a set of 3 good days and you have one bad day, you are not losing any progress. You're not sabotaging anything. So what I really learned from there is 2 steps backward and 1 step forward is still 1 step forward,
That
right?
was amazing. Yeah, yeah. Did she say that, or did you come up with that? That was amazing.
Yeah, I guess it was there in my brain, locked about somewhere. So yeah, that this came
Nice.
about.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks, and then I went about it. Arena was wonderful. Like, I just, like, at the end of the second week or something, I told her, like, hey, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to go back outside, talk to friends, get some physical activity, do these things. And she actually told me very clearly, like, the brain will still warn you. It might throw warnings at you, and it did. To her credit, it did. I was getting these warnings, hey, you're now working out again, you have to protect your sleep and all this. And the great thing is, all through this time I was resisting all those thoughts. But from that point on, I was like, okay, fine, if you're telling it for my own good, I'm going to take it, I'll accept it. So it was like the fearless method, as it is in one of your videos, right? Like, you don't fear anything. So so I went about that. I went about doing that, and it worked to my favor. It helped my recovery tremendously. But just having someone there, having Alina there, someone who understands the problem, it does wonders.
So nice. So this was all really within the span of like a couple of weeks. You're starting to really get clarity. You're starting to
Yeah.
like live your life again. And yeah, yeah, what happens next?
So it went. I was on bedtime for a month, and then I pretty much left bedtime. Since then, I've been sleeping like, no, it's been better than ever. I still wake up occasionally. I still wake up, but there's no emotional attachment there anymore. I don't see any emotional attachment there anymore. I no longer find my brain wondering how many hours have I slept and all these things. And even if it happens, I'm not resisting it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been it's definitely been a very harrowing experience over the past 1 year. I'm glad it's over. But I guess you learn. There is a learning curve. Like, I've learned so many things from it. Like, I've been able to take that and apply it to my life as well. There are a lot of circumstances that are not in your control, and you have to learn to be kind to yourself and not always criticize yourself.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you kind of see that in other areas of life you'd also been sort of critical of yourself?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some level of self-criticalness is important, but I guess if you go far too beyond, then you tend to berate yourself for things that you're not supposed to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanted to ask you something, which was you found our YouTube channel in November, and I think
Yeah,
in January you signed up for the app, and
yeah.
it wasn't because it was like kind of curated the material in the app that you found it was so helpful, or was it difficult, or do you learn better by text maybe, or was the videos kind of scattered, or why do you think it made such a big difference?
You have way too much content to consume. So on your YouTube channel, it's very hard to go through step by step. So I just thought, you know what? I've tried everything. This looks promising. Let's do it. So, and the step by step curation is amazing, Daniel. By the way, even my mother stands by it. Even she says that it is very well curated, because she was very worried about all this. Like, it really worried my family members.
Yeah. So and now I'm just curious, how did you kind of read together with her, or did you just tell her what you learned, or how does she know about the content?
She knows because I told her, like, hey, look at this YouTube channel, and stuff like that. And she actually stood by it, and she was, at the end of the day, like, you really got to owe it to Daniel and those guys. They have done a fantastic job at it. And what took us 1 year of struggle and hardship was just resolved in a couple of weeks. It's amazing. Like, in a month you can just take action, but even that action requires courage. It's not easy.
And in the hypnic jerks, did they sort of just fade away, or do you remember how that ended?
That has not really. I wouldn't say it ends. I wouldn't really put it as like it comes to an end. It's like it's okay for it to be there. It's no longer troublesome. Like, as long as you don't give it the emotional response, the emotional value, it no longer bothers you. It's not there now. These days, I don't get it. These days, like, it happens in 3 weeks, it'll happen once, or in 4 weeks, it'll happen once, and it's no longer bothersome. If it comes, I'm like, hey, okay, just a bug flying around. I can ignore it.
Yes.
And those are Alina's words precisely, not mine.
So nicely said. And just for our community, I believe that's 100%. I think we pretty much all of us actually do have some type of jerk little thing happen as we transition into sleep. But if it doesn't bother us, we stop noticing it, and then really it's not an issue. And I think, okay, so I'm thinking of other questions. One question I always want to ask is, if you could go back talk to yourself, maybe in the beginning, during that kind of like the mysterious first weeks when this was troubling you, what would you say to yourself?
It would be very unfair to tell myself, that don't panic. It's not possible for a normal person who goes through stuff like that to actually not panic. So I would just say, hang in there. You have to experience every single thing for it to be normalized.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think you told us such a nice and clear story. I don't really have any more questions. Maybe last thing is, like, for people going through this, any tips, advice, or what would you say to somebody who's going through it now?
Well, you have to go. You have to go through the journey. You have to go through it. There is nothing wrong with you. The only thing that is wrong with you is that you're believing that there is something wrong with you. There is absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah, 100%. I believe that 100%. And just, again, for the community here, like, sometimes it's like we have to experience something. And by the way, let me share something with you and get your comment on this. It's like, somebody could argue, well, I have been going through this. Like, I have no choice but to go through it. But the difference is, I think, when we're educated, we're experiencing the same thing, but with clarity and education, and with the lack of, like, we're not actively trying to stop it. Then we're actually going through it in a way that the brain sees that, oh, I went through it and I didn't do anything about it, and I'm safe. And then we learn. Would you say that echoes with you?
The education definitely helps, because the education does, like in my case, the education was 90% of the battle. Once I knew that all of this is normal and how it works, I was able to tell myself, oh, okay, now let us see how do we tackle this. Not in the sense like you're trying to fight anything. It's not a battle. You cannot fight it, but you can definitely make friends with wakefulness. And even that takes time. You cannot do it at the first attempt. Even that takes time.
Yeah, you can befriend that, and you can befriend so many things that we're trying to resist in the beginning. But yeah, it was super nice. We'll conclude here. I want to thank you so much for being a guest and sharing this, and be in touch. Okay.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye bye, everyone.